Laura Chipula, okay, versus MC Jam Incorporated DBA Creswell's Wrecking, which I know you're on Zoom. And I did read these yesterday, so I'm a little familiar, but you may proceed. I know it's about a car that was towed from your apartment.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Go ahead. You may proceed.
So, Your Honor, on the night of 22 July 2025, my vehicle was seized from my apartment secured garage parking, despite being in full compliance with the apartment's policy. They towed my vehicle. It was then released the next morning, free of charge from me due to the improper nature of the towing. But my concern today is the damage that was sustained to my vehicle due to um, the damage basically with the vibrations and things to the infrastructure of the vehicle, leading to the removal of the fog light cover on the right front of the vehicle. So I included there in the packet some photos of first the towing report that I received. Some of the information on here was incorrect, specifically with a Texas registration not being from my vehicle. Further, the tow time is incorrect, which is a minute point, but just shows the errors throughout their process here. On arrival to retrieve my car, I did refuse to sign the defendant's liability waivers because I was concerned as my vehicle is not towed on a flatbed truck. I have an all-wheel drive vehicle, so this can damage the drivetrain. I did take my vehicle into the Subaru dealer to get it assessed, and before the inspection, I did note the damage to with the falling off of the fog light cover. So I did a walkthrough and I included some stills from that video walkthrough at the impound lot. And this does show the loosening of that fog light cover on the front right of my vehicle.
Okay,
I didn't
I'm
note
looking.
that until it had fallen off afterwards and then reviewed the vehicle or the video.
And then it looks like you have scratches and um
And Your Honor,
do you have a pictures prior to the towing?
Yes, Your Honor, in the packet there, the tow photos in that email, the large where it says tow photos, those are the photos they took prior to taking my vehicle. You can see that the fog light cover is on there.
Okay.
When I did reach out to them regarding the claim process, as I was told after leaving the lot, if I noted further damage or something happened to my vehicle, that I should email that email address. They didn't respond until over 2 weeks later. And at that time, they referred to the scratch that had already been present on my vehicle, and I acknowledge that was actually present before I even moved to Texas. I recently PCS'd from Hawaii, so my vehicle was shipped across the Pacific Ocean, driven on a truck from San Diego to Dallas, and then I drove it from Dallas. So if that damage was sustained from that scratch, then I suspect that it would have fallen off prior to this incident.
Okay. I see that. So, do you have an estimate of how much?
Yes, ma'am. So I already got the estimate just from the dealer. This is just for the cost of the part for the damage. So it does not include the work involved. And then I also had to get a assessment for the drivetrain for my vehicle due to concerns about damage due to the nature of the towing. As the dealer recommends, the manufacturer recommends that my vehicle is towed on a flatbed truck.
So it's the $192.86 plus $100.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And how much is it going to be, or can you just pop that on, or that light cover?
I was told I'd have to take it to a body shop, and so it could be anywhere from $100 to $150.
Okay. Okay. Anything else?
No, Your Honor.
So you didn't have to pay for the charge of the tow?
I did not. I had to wait 2.5 hours before my apartment leasing office opened. That's the time that I finally got the vehicle tow report. Prior to that, I didn't even know what happened to my vehicle. And so I actually filed a police report because there were no signs about towing in that area. But they released it free of charge to me due to the improper nature of the charge or of the tow.
Okay, and you're asking for $500. How are you coming up with $500?
For the part replacement, the repair cost of the body shop, and the cost for the evaluation of the drivetrain.
Because I come up with $292.86 with these two.
That doesn't include the repair cost for the putting it back on.
Okay,
Which,
and you said it would be anywhere from 100 to 150?
yes, Your Honor.
Okay. All right.
I mean, I'm willing to accept just the charges of what's documented there. I've been dealing with this obviously for a long time. I have not gotten it repaired yet to this point.
Okay. All right. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Your Honor, I'm going to go ahead and share screen so I can share some documents with you this morning. We'll start with the release documents. This vehicle was released at no cost to the vehicle owner, simply because there was an error in the leasing office. This document itself is going to be the release document. And so the vehicle owners are filling out this information themselves. And as you can see, it was intaked by the dispatcher at 10:40, or the release clerk, at 10:40 a.m. on 7/23. This is just going to list the vehicle information. And then there is also this disclaimer here at the bottom. And this disclaimer is only an acknowledgement so that vehicle owners are aware that damage may occur by their vehicles being towed, and that they need to inspect their vehicles prior to leaving the storage facility, so that those things can be documented by the staff there, and we can start looking into it, because the tow trucks do have cameras, or they have a different camera system now, but it allows us to go back in and investigate the damage itself to make sure that who's liable. Was it done at the storage facility, or was it done at the towing company? So I'm just providing this. We'll go through the vehicle owner again. She did disagree with that she disagreed with having to inspect her vehicle. Then this is all presented to her before she makes it to the release window. Then once she gets up to the release window, again, she's reminded that her vehicle is being released at no charge. There's this, again, the exact same disclaimer saying, hey, damage could occur due to tow, and it is your job as a vehicle owner to inspect your vehicle prior to leaving. And it does say down here that they need to do it before leaving the premises, so that we can document it. So they're well aware that they have the right to come back up to the window and tell the vehicle release clerk that their vehicle was damaged, so that we can start the damage claim process, because then another form has to be filled out, pictures have to be taken by that release clerk, and then it goes to another department to be investigated, Your Honor. So this information was all presented to her at 10:20 in the morning. So there was lots of daylight outside, and she had more than an opportunity to inspect her vehicle, to let us know that her vehicle had sustained some sort of damage prior to driving out of the lot. And again, she had to fill out a hold harmless because her vehicle was released at no cost. And again, that disclaimer is on there again, one last time, saying, hey, if you notice damage, you need to point it out to us so that we can properly document it, and those parties that are responsible can be held responsible. So we'll go over to the pre-tow photos as well. I'm sharing the right screen now. And I have two pre-tow photos of the area, which was also shared via email. We'll go ahead and kind of zoom in here, because this is the affected area. We can see that the front bumper is loose, so it's not secured to the vehicle. You can also see that there was that scratch damage, but more importantly, we're going to go ahead and look at right here. This damage here where the fog light, it doesn't look like it's properly secured to the vehicle. It looks like it may be loose here in this front part. And if we switch over to this other view, which the driver took of a front view, you can also see that the vehicle here up in this upper corner of the fog light, there is some separation from the front bumper and the fog light itself. And so this vehicle was driven out. As she noted in her packet, which she did email to me as well, she drove out of the lot and the fog light was still intact when she left. There was no report to us prior to the July 28th email. letting us know that that the fog light had been damaged and that it was possibly going to fall off. We didn't get anything from the vehicle owner until after the fog light had completely fallen out of its socket, and then we were held responsible for it.
Okay. All right. So when you picked up the vehicle, the fog light was on. The fog light
Yes,
cover
Your Honor.
was on.
Mhm.
And when did you realize, or when did you?
It was after I drove it on the highway when I was going back to my vehicle after work. I had already missed a half a day of work. And so after I returned to my vehicle after the duty day, then I noticed that it was off. But upon reviewing the video, I noted that it was not, these aren't photos I took, that was their tow photos. But on the video walkthrough, I noted that it was further loosened. Obviously, I'm not a fortune teller, otherwise I would have resecured that before I drove my vehicle off the lot. But again, they reassured me that I could come back with further damages, whether that be from infrastructure or whatnot related to the tow.
Okay. This vehicle should have not been towed in the first place. And so
Well, Your Honor, I will just interject. The vehicle was only released at no cost because the leasing manager failed to register the vehicle within the parking system.
yes.
Otherwise, the vehicle would have been properly registered, but that's not even the case at this point because we're not here for the tow. We're here for the damage that she sustained. And like I said, we have a damage claim process. And so the information that she's saying is incorrect because the dispatch or the release clerk would not have told her to come back. Like I showed you those documents, we have those forms in place for a reason so that there's no misinterpretation of our process.
Okay. Number one, it shouldn't have been towed. I know it's not your fault, but it's the apartment complex who didn't register the vehicle. It is like she said, an
But she's
all-wheel
not suing the
drive.
apartment,
It's an
Your
all-wheel
Honor.
drive. Excuse me. It's an all-wheel drive. It should not have been. It should have been on a flatbed, and y'all should know that. Being
We towed the vehicle on dollies. There was no vehicle. There's no reason that the vehicle had to be on a flatbed. It was towed with additional wheels on the back of the vehicle, so there was no damage to the drivetrain. Otherwise, she would have had transmission damage.
And what did you find? What did they find at the dealership?
They didn't find transmission damage, but it is still the manufacturer recommendation to tow it on a flatbed rather than a dolly. Obviously, that's a easier solution for them, but it doesn't secure my vehicle properly.
And why didn't you sue the apartment complex?
I'm not trying to sue or anything for like improper tow. I'm already pursuing that through the TLDR. And they're actually pursuing prosecution right now for that. My concern is just the damages to the vehicle, which I didn't see that the apartment complex was liable for. This is due to the nature of the tow being improperly secured and the vibrations and mechanical structural damage.
All right. Anything else?
No, Your Honor. I just continue to hold on to the fact that she drove the vehicle out. There was no damage claim made, and we didn't hear about it for another 10 days.
You said that you put it on, you noted it that there was something further loosened.
Yes, Your Honor. I did a video walkthrough. Obviously, I'm not a mechanic and I had to get to work. So I did a video walkthrough to assess for any further damages and to document before I removed my vehicle from the tow yard. Because I was told by the lady at the desk before I took my vehicle that I could follow up through the claims with the email address. I didn't know that I was going to have this much trouble dealing with them for any issues later down the road. However, on review of that vehicle, once the fog light cover fell off, I did note that it had been further loosened.
Okay. The court is awarding $292.86 to the plaintiff, cost of court, post-judgment interest, and you have 21 days to appeal. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
John Quo, do you have the ability to turn on a camera?
Temporarily, discreetly. I'm actually at work at an undisclosed location, so the best I can do right now. The tenants, I'm gonna give a summary of everything. The tenants moved in on July the 18th, 2021. First, they moved in under the assumption that Jonquil was coming with just kids. When they got there, I realized that Latoya was there, so I had to redo the lease again because I wasn't fully aware that he was married with kids as we went through the whole process, and we talked a lot before he moved in. Uh, once they moved in, I usually give everybody a move-in report, tell them to fill it out. They got a week to fill it out because uh, once they get in there and once we do the walkthrough, they're not going to find everything in that one day. So I leave it with them, give them a week to fill it out. Anything that they fill out on the report, then they give it back to me after about a week. Junquel moved in, bought washer and dryers. Instead of letting the company that he bought it from hooked it up, he hooked it up. Once he did the first load of clothes or did some clothes. I don't know if it's the first load exactly, but water came from upstairs, downstairs through the light fixture in the home. He got that taken care of because I told him he wanted the owner, and I was like that the owner didn't hook that up, so he got that taken care of, mediation and all that stuff. Time went by. Let's see. Time went by. Later on, probably years later. Within probably the first year, he was saying that the electric issue down in the kitchen. So I did have a couple of people come out and look at that. Finally, we just went ahead and got all the kitchen, the main lights in the kitchen changed out to see if that was the issue he was saying that was causing an electrical issue. Then probably about a year or so later, they had a toilet situation, sent a plumber out there to take care of the toilet. Come to find out what caused it was a deodorant that was engaged in the toilet, so it caused water. He had to end up getting that done because it was something that they caused. The last main thing that happened was the primary bathroom. I think the tank or something, I have to go back and look at that receipt to see what happened there. But the owner used insurance to take care of that. So we had to go through a process of getting contractors out there, deal with the insurance. So it went on for a little bit to get that taken care of. We got that taken care of. The last thing that we were taking care of in February of this year is Jonquel had a couple of doors that he had damaged. So I was coming over in February as well as at the beginning of February to look at the house to do an annual inspection because he was going to renew his lease. So while I was there, he had me to look at the doors that he damaged, the primary bedroom door and the primary bathroom door. He got them replaced, but they wasn't painted. So once I came back to do the annual inspection is when I said, hey, I sent y'all over the forms to renew the lease. You're going to sign it? Yes, we're going to get to it. I guess at the end of the inspection, like a couple of days later, I think it was on the 16th. It was on the 16th when they gave me a notice saying that they're not going to renew their lease because of they wanted me to caulk some stuff around a sink, and the sink it had a lot of debris and dirt on it. So I told them by that time I told them I think we was gonna do I think it was another 3-month lease or 6-month lease. I was like, when you guys kind of move out, I would just caulk that stuff around it because it'll be clean and everything once they move out. I want to say that is the last things I do have in the in your records there, the move-in reports, how the house looked before they moved in, how the house looked once they move out, and that was the day that they gave me the key to kind of look at it, but they still was going in to pick up some stuff and all that stuff. So around March time, the beginning of March. They had the cleaners to come out roughly on March the 4th or 5th. I have to go back and look at that, but they came out to clean and to do the carpet. It actually took because I talked to the cleaners and I was like, hey, the carpet is not clean. She was like, Samantha, my carpet person spent 6 hours trying to get that carpet clean. She was like, that's all we can do. So I went out of town on a trip. So I did have one of my coworkers to do the walkthrough. Then when I got back, I did an additional walkthrough just to see what the condition of the house is. And so at that time, I had 3 or 4 contractors come over to give me bids to paint the wall. And I know what normal wear and tear is, but when you have walls that are smudged up with so much smud, and then the floor and have a lot of smut and soot on it, where you can see where the furniture was at compared to what they tracked at. So, but like the cleaners, I had to have the cleaners to come back out because they missed so much stuff. She was like, we put several hours in here. She said it was not a normal cleaning. So I do have pictures that she sent me up before, that's in one of the files there. I have pictures of what it looked like afterwards, after all the repairs and stuff done. So I literally had to get all the carpet replaced. I had to get all the walls painted because it was so much like rubbing against the walls where it's going up mainly at the back for the most part was a lot, going up the stairway. And then it was stain in the carpet. So stains in the carpet in the primary bedroom was stained the worst as far as having stains in there. It still was dark, but the stains, it was like 3 stains that was on one side close by the bathroom, and a stain that was closer by the closet area. Plus, trying to see what else. Yeah. And so I had them to come back out and do some stuff because they left some of the area unclean as well. So they did come back out and do a cleaning. And then once we did the repairs and had all the repairs done, the owner had one more cleaner to come out and clean again, just to make sure that we have the house in good condition for the new tenant. And then on the repairs that you have an exhibit from Black Hawk Service.
Mhm.
I
Yes.
took, instead of doing like half, I only took like a third. I took a third of what the bill was and put it towards the tenants, since it was not normal wear.
She just froze up.
It fixed on there, but it was all bulked up and it still was wobbly. One of the towel holders in one of the bathrooms had been moved from one location to the next and try to fix that up. But yeah, it was more damage there than I'm used to when it comes to tenants.
Okay, thank you. All right, John Quell and Latoya, I guess you can decide between yourselves who wants to start.
Okay, so first of all, good morning, Your Honor. And I'll start off by talking about from the start, the beginning. Yes, we did move in on the date that was displayed. This is not a back and forth thing. I delivered my LESs as my financial records. I was active duty military, PCS, permanent change of station from Fort Stewart, Georgia, living on base to living off post here at Joint Base Lewis McChord. I was notified when we got here that it would be a little hard to find a place, and Samantha worked on some kind of accommodation with the owner to move in sooner, kind of to hold the house, even though I wasn't physically in the house. They gave them a little bit of time to, I guess, finish up any final repairs or cleaning. So I paid like 3 weeks ahead, and then on top of that, I had my security deposit plus the following month's of rent. This is totaling about $4,700 with these statements. So I was already been married at the time, and had my marital records supplied to the company Imagine Real Estate when I got there. This is the misunderstanding of me coming with children, 4 kids. I don't. That was incorrect. But following to that, we had some water issues with the home. The washer and dryer was still in the original packaging. There was nothing wrong with them. It was brand new cables and hoses, everything, and never had this issue. You know, substantially putting on a washer and dryer. When the water damage happened, through my immediate candor, I notified Samantha. Not this wasn't an accident of fixing anything, but just notifying, hey, water came through the light fixture that was closest by the fridge. It was more like when you walk into the kitchen, it's the first light fixture. Unfortunately, through that, it ended up being $1,738. I believe it was the number from H2OA to come out there and look at the home. They had to do a little bit of cutting into the wall where the washer and dryer was, and then also they had to remove the linoleum from the floor to look at the damages, or possible damage of the floor. There was 0 damages to the home structure with the water from us, but they did find previous water, like dried out water in the wall, but we at first wasn't really concerned about it. And that once that work was complete, we had another contractor come out, paid another $500 to $600 to get that cleaned up. That contractor information I do not have at this time, Your Honor, and that's totaling about $2,300 to get that fixed. And this was literally within the first 30 days, on top of the additional $4,700. So that we had that. Including the issue with the light fixtures. Every single year we mention these factors. Light bulbs were plugged in. She did get all of them replaced at the timeline that she said, but the lights immediately started going back out again. Light bulbs are supposed to last 3 to 5 years per every single contractor that she had. The light bulbs literally go right back out. So our light bill was astronomical, especially for a house that's supposed to maintain heat during the winter, which was subpar. But we also had higher than average light bills. And the same thing with the water bill. We mentioned the plumbing issues several times with the home, that we believe there's some other issues with the water. So she did come out. She went under the sink before. She went under the sink, not a contractor, to look at the possible damages or issues with the water. And she said that the water is supposed to drain out from the little spigot at the top to go into the sink. Never seen that design before. Maybe it's a Washington thing. I'm from South Carolina. Haven't seen that design. So we went on a decent good faith there. So that was one of the other issues when it comes down to the light and the water. Moving right along, I will also speak about the factor of quickly about the doors. The doors was damaged. Yet again, candor. I said, hey, the doors got damaged. That was my fault. And we got that fixed by the contractor from JK Handyman. There's also the ones who worked on the walls for us. When they did a painting, when you come in downstairs, you come in not downstairs, you come in the main entranceway. As soon as you walk, you look right to the left. It's not the bonus room or sunroom that you call it. It's just a wall that's on the other side of it. And that's the only area he painted besides where the TV used to be. Where there was like an indication that there's a TV that can actually be mounted up on the wall. Those are 2 areas he painted when we came out. So those 2 areas I will attest, because we did mention him. I said I think those are off with the colors, but after a while we wasn't allowed to go back in the home. So finally, with that, I also talk about the issue with the bedroom, with the water issue there. When it came down to that, Your Honor, that water issue came out of nowhere. Flushed the toilet one day and water just drained back. There was nothing that we did with the plumbing at all. So I guess that's why the owner felt, they had to accommodate that or do their due diligence as owner and under the laws of Washington for tenants and residency, whatever, to make sure that was taken care of and supplied properly. But that took a while to get done. So due to the hole in the ceiling, that's where we brought up the mold issue. That wasn't originally notified by us. We had another person come out on our behalf to check it while it was open, because during this time, 2 of our kids who was asthmatic constantly kept getting sick, and the same thing with the rest of us. Even my son had to go to ENT at Madigan to get looked at, and it also required an additional removal of his adenoids during this process due to him being sick. So we had that going on throughout the process, and then the little deodorant cap, not deodorant. We need to be more specific. It was a travel size deodorant cap that was stuck in there, and we had to handle that payment ourselves. And the plumber who was out there, it was through my Venmo when it happened. The plumber said he was not notified that we had to pay, and he actually gave me a discounted rate to pay for the toilet issue, even because he said it was a minor thing. But you know, Samantha and the Imagine Real Estate owner said we had to pay for it, and we understood that because the cap was there. But the plumber was not. He was unaware. That was about $400. Uh, Other than that, like I said, the main other issues that we already notified, my wife will speak about the rest of it, Your Honor. I just want to make sure you notified that from the time we came in the home, spending a good $5,000 from the time we left the home, in between the cleaning, fixing the doors, the stuff we actually said we messed up was taken care of. The stains that she's talking about, the carpet, I believe was like little blue stains. My wife can attest to more of that. We do agree to those damages in the master bedroom. But we want to also make sure we notate that the home was not in 100% reputable manner that it was that was claimed, even for the backyard and the carpet. Upon the drying of the carpet, and originally it was not clean to the proper way that you'd attest to. But we just consider that normal wear and tear. And plus, we was moving in an expeditious manner. We just moved, cross country, so we didn't have a lot of time to deliberate in as far as we needed to because we just moved. So we did our itemized stuff or what was damaged and what was not. And like we said, you give a little time, some of the things start showing properly of what was the other damages in the home. As far as the walls, I don't know what the smud thing was. I would have to see what by picture in annotation what actually was discussed on that. Some of the damages on the wall we can attest to. Some I don't recall as a manner of appropriate conversation for right now. But that's all I have, and I'll let my wife go with the rest.
Then Latoya, can I hear from you? There you go. You're unmuted now. Go ahead.
Okay. So I'll start by saying that, okay, when we first moved here, most of the communication that Samantha had, which was mostly via text, came from me. So she had an idea that, yeah, I did exist and he was married. Upon arrival, she was here, she was at the house or whatever, but the carpet was still not dry. So at that moment, it was just that the carpet wasn't dried, so we didn't know the condition of the carpet until it fully dried. It was like it had just gotten done. Upon drying it, we started seeing multiple spots. You can still see the spots where the furniture prior to was and whatever else was there. So that's that. As far as within the first week of being there, we had the situation with the brand new washer and dryer, which, like Jean-Paul said, we came out of pocket for that because they stated that, okay, that was on us. Okay, we paid that. But my question is this: the exact same thing happened in the bathroom, the master bedroom bathroom. So for years, we've been complaining about plumbing issues. And for years, it's fell on dead ears. Like, I mean, she disregarded it pretty much. We had times that we would ask for things to be fixed, and she would refuse for weeks on end. We got to the point that we weren't talking to her because she wasn't understanding to anything or even assisting with anything we needed help with within the house. So we stopped talking to Samantha a while back. So I'm kind of curious why we were talking to her now. But we started talking to, I guess it's her broker. The broker actually had contractors come out and repair some things. And then when it got transferred back to her, it was contractors that came out that got into arguments with me on repairs to the point that my husband would have to leave JBLM to get home because I was distraught. So nobody was actually, customer service was not there on her part as well as the contractors. But the second plumbing issue was the deodorant cap, which had fallen in a toilet. It wasn't the master bedroom. It was the spare bathroom in the hallway. We got that repaired. Everything was fine. The master bedroom, flushed the toilet one day, and yeah, it's all over the floor up to the point that it's flowing into the shower. So at that point, the owners decided, okay, that's what they're going to fix due to insurance. Not saying that the first situation wasn't an insurance issue either, but they decided to pay that one through insurance. We had a hole in the ceiling for weeks on end to the point that we had to have somebody come out and actually inspect it because the kids were getting sick and throwing up and whatever else and had to go to the hospital. So that was the situation when they stated that it was mold. Again, with the first situation in the laundry room, when H2O came out, they stated that it was a prior water damage issue in there through piping, which was conveyed to Samantha. On top of that, the mold you would understand if the mold was under a sink that had water. The mold was literally under a sink that had no type of moisture. And it covered the entire top of that sink. As far as the spigot, she said that the water is supposed to come through there for the dishwasher. That was wrong when somebody else came out and stated that that wasn't supposed to happen. As well as we had a stove issue also, which she told us that, oh no, you just put it on roast to bake. So it was issues on top of issues. And like my husband stated, we had just gotten here. So a lot of things where we got here and it was 4 kids and it was us. So a lot of things that kind of pushed to the side, but it was actually talked about with her with disregard. As far as the carpet goes, okay, yes. The few blue spots, I can say, okay, yeah, we agree to that. And the spot by the bathroom, yes, we agree to that also. But as far as like the landscape, it was never grass back there, sir. It's not even a spot for the sun to hit there. And we do have pictures for that as well. But we got the repairs done that we had to get repaired. We got the wall done, which was minor. It was no smudging or anything along that line. It was a basic wipe down because none of the paint or anything was missing. The spots that did need painted were painted. And it was painted with the paint that was provided in the garage that was supposed to be for the house, but in all actuality was not. But other than that, like mediation, we stayed at a price because I'm looking at the itemization and we constantly kept asking her for itemization and she got it to mid-March going to April. Well, late March going to April. And on top of that, the reason, yes, in the inspection was supposed to be in December and it got pushed on to February. February was the month we were supposed to renew the lease, sir. February 15th or 16th, somewhere around there, Miss Samantha made time to actually come and do a inspection. At the inspection, we also told her a couple of things that we needed repaired for the house to actually be livable for us, which consisted of the plumbing and the lights or whatever, because when her electrician came out, he said it was a fire hazard. Sir, we have 4 kids. We need not have those problems. So we were asking about all these things we had been asking for 5 years, just about. And she stated, well, when y'all move out, I'll address all the situations. So it was a disregard while within my lease to have these repairs done. So at that moment, sir, yes, that very day, we put in a notice. We were out on February 28th. Nothing was in the house. I have records of that. I have pictures with timestamps. Fair enough. We did tell Samantha that the cleaners would be in on a certain date, which they came on that date, sir. And they did a move out cleaning. When her counterpart, because she was out of town, when her counterpart came in, she stated that, well, Samantha would have to do her walkthrough when she comes back, but to have certain things cleaned a little better, which was like a drawer or two. But at that time, she had already collected the keys. So what she's stating, well, everything was out, sir. The cleaners did, talk to her, and they came up with an agreement on when they can come back out to clean those few things. But like I said, timing wise, we were out the 28th. The cleaners came maybe the 2nd and cleaned or whatever. And when her counterpart came in to do a walkthrough, I was there. She walked through, she took pictures the same as we had did moving out on the 28th. And again, once the cleaners were clean. So I'm kind of confused as to some of the damages she's speaking on, as well as some of the itemizations that she actually sent us at the end of March going to April.
All right, thank you, Ms. Perella. Okay, in a case like this, the plaintiff has to prove their case by preponderance of the evidence, and that means the greater weight of the evidence. In this case, Imagine Real Estate, Ms. Parker, I think has more than adequately shown that the rented property was in, I would say, good condition, probably very good condition at the time it was rented to the defendants, and then has more than adequately documented the what I would characterize here as substantial amounts of damage and uncleanliness that the plaintiffs ended up having to pay for to clean up and to repair. She's provided itemized lists of those costs, and those costs are reasonable and common for this kind of work. And in fact, those costs far exceed the jurisdictional maximum for a plaintiff in a case like this. In other words, more than the $5,000 that was claimed. And in response to this, I've heard from the defendants that it wasn't that bad, and that it was actually in bad shape when they took possession, but none of that is borne out by the evidence in this case. So I'm choosing to find Ms. Parker's testimony and the exhibits that she submitted to be credible on the issue of the condition of the house at the time the defendants took tenancy. In other words, it was in good condition, and at the time the tenancy was terminated, it was not, and that's been very adequately demonstrated. The costs that are requested here are reasonable, and as I said, the proof in the case is that the costs far exceed the $5,000 amount that the plaintiff's able to claim. So I'm finding in this case in favor of the plaintiff, Imagine Real Estate. I'm awarding the jurisdictional maximum, which has been adequately proved, which is $5,000. The filing fee will be added to that. That's $50. And then Ms. Parker, you're also eligible to collect the fee that you had to pay to serve notice of the lawsuit on the defendants. I see that you have a return of service here for that, but I don't know how much that costs.
$12.14.
All right, we'll add that to the allowable cost. So a total award in favor of the plaintiff, Imagine Real Estate, of $5,062.14. All right, I've executed a written judgment to that effect. I'm filing that with the court clerk, and that will be available to both parties at any time. All right, that will matter for today.
Thank you. Thank you, Judge. Have a good evening.
All right, thank you.